Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to TFC Open Mic Season 3, Episode 18. This one is entitled Scorpion Sting and Huge Bounty Changes. Got a couple folks on tonight. First off, welcome to Dirk. How are you, mate?
Doing fine. Welcome to everyone. Hello.
And we've got Solhex. How are you, mate?
Doing good, doing good.
Good. And then we've got Venom.
Good evening.
Hey, there is also still room available in the show, and I think the link has been posted in chat. So if you want to get on and join us, please do so by all means. Okay, so a couple things. First off, we've got the TLC out there for the Scorpion Sting for the for the missile stuff for the Manticore hull. And then, of course, we have the Skyfire Elite campaign that's out there for tokens for the Skyfire. And then I think that's about it that we've got TLC-wise. Hey, Hefe, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. And yourself?
I'm doing well, thanks. And welcome to Neil. Oh, well, we had Neil for a second. Okay, got a couple things to just before we dive into conversation, and hopefully I can do this without totally hosing everything up. I do have a couple of slides to share. First off, had a big week. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. Big week this week for birthdays for the TFC. Today is actually Brian, Mr. Science's birthday, and then we've got TSM's next week, and then we had Daniel's the other day. So big happy birthday to all of those folks. And the first thing that we saw from Rampage Reports was this guy. This is the Impact Cruiser, I think is what the name was. And I believe this is a ballistic version of a PvP hull that will be available in Bounty 10.
That sounds good.
It's been a long time coming. They probably should have released that hull rather than releasing more turrets to make things annoying, but that's just my opinion anyway.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if we're going to see any more turrets with the next bounty other than repeated ones.
Please, for the love of goodness, no more ballistic or penetrative turrets. Please stop.
Well, what's probably going to happen is this is going to be a high penetrative and ballistic deflection hull, and the only thing that's going to probably affect it is like explosive. So they're going to put it in an explosive turret, and then that's going to be its weakness or strength or whatever. So
we can only hope.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other thing that Chris talked about was Bounty 10 and the changes. First off, I just want to make it very clear that this is an example image only. He stated that the values, numbers, checkpoints, or anything like that are not set in stone, so they are subject to change. But the big change that they're looking at implementing is throughout the day, there's going to be certain thresholds, aka, I guess, checkpoints, where Bounty will automatically bank and secure. And then we have the opportunity, it looks like, to, throughout the day, choose a spot if we want to secure additional bounty. Now, we don't know how many spots there are, and we don't know how often they are, but this is supposed to give us more control on how we play bounty. I can see some positives and some negatives to this. The positives being that it gives you the opportunity to secure instead of having to wait to a very long checkpoint at the end. I can also see negatives where if you've got a lot of bounty and you secure it, then how many bases are going to be available for you to hit? So, thoughts, guys?
I think this is going to really negatively affect bounty. It's going to turn out to be another PvE sort of raid type event. Yes, they're helping people keep their bounty, and for a lot of people that's great. But it negatively affects any of the players who are looking to go hit bases, because there's the max you want to see is about 4k, if that, and for the amount of trouble you're going through to hit the bases, it's just not going to be worth it. And the targets themselves, because there'll be so little bounty going around, there's going to be very few people to hit. Very, very few. So I see there's going to be many people complaining this time. That there's just nobody to hit.
Yeah, it really depends on how they structure it.
And if all of it gets banked. I mean, if I'm sitting there throughout the day and I hit 5K and I bank that 5K, is it going to secure all of that 5K, or is it going to leave still a portion available to others?
If
I
they're
hope
going to
it's
go
open.
down, go ahead.
Let him go in.
I was just going to say, if they're going to go down this route where they're going to allow us to bank whenever we want, they really need to change it from how much unsecured you have and base it off how much secured you have. And you can only take a certain amount of unsecured off them, but you get a portion, sort of a free bounty, I suppose, that comes with it. So it's not all coming from the player, but it's coming from the system itself. And that's only real way people will actually benefit as a general is if we not only get the bounty off the player, but we're also getting extra bounty on top of that. Because 4 to 5K each time. Last bounty you're hitting for 6,000-7,000 plus each time, so you really need to have this sort of extra amount coming from somewhere.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, there's only so much that's available in the game, and if all of that is secured, then people are going to be either stuck grinding the map targets or not have any targets at all.
It's just turned out to be a second raid per month again.
Yeah. Dirk, you had something to say?
Yeah, I just hope that they. I haven't done bounty for the last 2 sessions. I'm going to do it this time again. For the amount of time that you play, it will benefit me to save some, because my base is still far from ready to handle big hits. So if I can save a bit, that will help.
So you participated in the first one with the new map targets, but not the last couple?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Okay. So those are the 2 things that we saw for Rampage reports. Does anybody want to talk about the Scorpion Sting TLC? I've gone through 2 of the mastery levels. I still have the 3rd one to go because I was repairing. And just a note for those out in Radio Land, and I just want to be clear on these, please don't think that these targets are going to be the raid targets. If you remember when Kix originally talked about this campaign, we were going to be required to have the Manticore built in order to be able to do this to get the missile stuff. And then because that kind of was not a good idea, they went ahead and reversed that decision, and then they adjusted the TLC to be able to allow things like Skyfires and Phoenixes in the TLC. So there have been a couple of posts on the page and people talking throughout the game that, you know, the Phoenix and the Skyfire are not going to be able to work in these types of raid targets. These are not it. Think the VXP target for the last VXP event that we did with just all the ships in it and the floating turret platforms. So that being said, I know Skyfires, I think, were struggling in some of the targets in the TLC because of the antis. And if you were using Skyfires, you had to split your fleet up and approach some of the turrets at different angles. I do know that the Phoenix fleets were doing very well. I did very well with those. And then I think I did my first couple of masteries with just 2 Manticores. So what are you guys seeing?
Well, that's a kind of a sick joke saying that the Skyfires would be able to do it. They have a huge handicap, that and the Cadus as well. I don't have a Cadus. I think, isn't it restricted from this TLC this time?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, this time. But they said that was a mistake. but you won't be able to use the KDs on the top level targets during the raid, which I know a lot of people aren't terribly happy about that. I didn't bother to even collect all the shards, so it doesn't upset me, but it would have been nice if they mentioned that, communicated that earlier before people went out and got the shards and spent over a month and a half building it. Then it really has no discernible purpose that I can tell.
Well, the top targets, the campaign targets, you mean? Those have always been restricted to the designated holes that were for the raid. So I kind of
these are assault holes. I can put other assault holes. But what I'm saying is but I remember people using Ghostcrawlers in some of those older events, the older raids.
I know, because I happened to be home when that Spite series was on with the Ghostcrawler, and I know I could use it for the first one, but then the second one, it was blocked, but not restricted, if that makes sense. They made changes to where the Ghostcrawler didn't work, but I was still able to take it in there.
Yeah, you could bring it. Yeah, it wasn't effective. You ended up taking more damage than you would have, but yeah, you were allowed to bring it in. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. And with the restrictions, I know obviously the last time you either had to have the Hydra for the Hydra, the Bucky for the Bucky, and then I think the same for Fangs and Hunters. But with the Fangs and the Hunters, it was almost like they built the target so that only the one hole worked. I don't actually remember, was there restrictions on the last cycle of that one?
No, there was no restrictions for that. It just, if you were to do it, you go in and you instantly die.
Yeah.
But what is the real purpose of the KDs at this point?
Right now, the only thing that I can think of is for getting titanium easily.
Okay.
It might be able to do the 80 sets, pretty decently, but who's to say? We don't know the targets, fully yet.
Yeah, true. That's good.
I was just going to say that's a long time to have a capital hull on the map, autoing targets and easily snipeable.
It's about the same price as the Manticores, though.
Is it?
Well, it's maybe a little bit more, but you're looking at a full Manticore fleet costing about 40 coins.
Okay, I don't have I don't have the Katie's built, so I can't speak to that. But I know Rum does. Hey Rum, how are you?
Doing good, Rue. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Do you have the Katie's built, don't you?
I do.
What is that for a full repair?
67 coins. Yeah. Just a few.
I foresee a lot of people sniping KDs this raid.
Probably so.
I'm still picking myself up off the floor. $6.70 to repair that.
Yeah, and they basically said, no, you can't use it. They're going to let us use it in the A sets, which I plan on doing all A sets and no S sets.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I'm also going to prep for anybody and everybody that I can, just so my favorite organization gets less coin until they fix everything.
Yeah, and I guess I can understand why. Understand it, maybe not agree with it, but I guess I can understand why they would want to do that. But to me, it would be, wouldn't you be willing to spend more coin or spend coin repairing your KDs to be able to blow through the other targets versus time and basically free and no coins?
Absolutely. That's logic, though, and that doesn't apply.
Yeah. Snoopy joined us. Hey, Snoopy.
Yeah, I had to do. Sorry about that, but yeah, I've got a KDs and it's okay for titanium light, but it's still more repair than my Skies or my Phoenix take.
Put
but
together,
I do auto it. Yeah.
See, I haven't experienced that. Everything that I've attempted to do within reason, 85s are just a few minutes repair.
7 minutes.
Well, but it's only in base. In base, it's only 2 minutes. I can do that for not having to worry about it. 45s, you just got to be careful of the fire fields. It's an easy way to get res. A couple of the TLCs short of this week have been instant repair. unless you have a major brain malfunction to where you just send the ship somewhere and forget to let the drones come out. Then it will die, and it's costly.
Yeah, it's really, and this is really sad. This is kind of my personal opinion. I mean, I loved my Ghostcrawler. I still do, and I actually still blow the dust off of it, drag it out when I need to set the sector to orange. And they have talked a couple times about revamping the capital hulls, and it's just sad to see something that takes so much to get, so much to repair, and holy cow, so long to build, that their shelf life is just so extremely small.
Well, that's what makes me not want to get any of the the shards. Nothing. They haven't revamped any of them. The Cadus is going out of business. So what reward do we get for actually getting the shards, completing the shards, and building it? There's no reward.
We say the Cadus has gone out of business, but it really hasn't. It's still useful for a few things that they put up there, and you will be surprised at how useful it will be in the A sets, because unless they put something in there to intentionally damage it, which I would not put it past them, it will do the raid for nothing.
And the other concern is they've said they're allowing them in the A sets for the upcoming raid, but will that apply across the whole cycle?
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
We do not know. I saw the Cadus in action the first time, not the last raid, but the raid prior to that, and they were able to do everything for free. So you knew at that point it was going to change. So if you coined your Cadus shortly after you were able to, you could do a ton of stuff with it. But now you can't.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments on the Skyfire campaign, the Elite? I know there have been videos out there. I know folks have been using their dragons in there. Ren posted a video with the dragons that are in there, and I've even heard, I think, people using Apollos.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
I'm really disappointed in how long it's taken them to actually give this campaign, because for the last 6 months they've only had 2 of them. This one, and then 5 months before. I've been pushing it on the give it to people, because people who don't have an assault fleet can't do the hunter games, which that is the backbone to getting all the progressive TLCs. And it's taken this how long to get this campaign actually out for those people who don't have Skyfires,
or even the Manticores. I don't know if Kix is going to repeat what they did last cycle, where they had the co-op Bucky campaigns, a couple of cycles in, where people were able to go ahead and get that. I'm not sure if that's going to happen for the Manti hull. I certainly hope it is, because that was a huge help for players and it was a really good thing. But to your point, with being able to even get the Manti in the last raid, you're right. There are a lot of people that are relying on Skyfires and Phoenixes and not able to get all of that tech. So having that a lot earlier, I think, would have been good.
Well, I'm glad I did the Skyfire with my dragons, and I did good.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. I know Icebreakers are working well. I'm not sure on the Zealous mono fleet, but I do know that people are doing it with Icebreakers, and I did mine with the dragons. I had a lot of fun with it. But of course, that is the top end hull for a TLC that is a little bit older.
My only problem with the TLC is that they didn't bring out the TLC for the Phoenix with it, so that people have a choice whether to build the Skyfire from doing the TLC or build the Phoenix. So people who maybe don't have an assault hull could have done the Manticore TLC, but they had a choice whether to use the Phoenix, which was clearly doing better, or they could build the Skyfires and do it that way. I think it was quite insulting to players who didn't have it to be forced to use a hull which was doing dramatically worse than even Apollos were doing in the Manticore TLC.
Well, in the beginning, there was no Phoenix TLC. It was actually just like how it was just in the raid. you get the hole in the raid, and there was no tokens for anything like that. But it would have been good if they offered the Phoenix hole in the TLC too, but they didn't, and that's sad.
I'm worried that what they'll do is they'll put that many antis in to stop the KDs. They'll kill the Skyfires off, and that's what I'm worried about.
Well, I'm kind of thinking on, you just mentioned the KDs again. I was planning on running 4 of the Manties with the KDs and keeping the Manties on the inside of the circle. That way they won't be getting any damage.
Yeah, and somebody had posted, I'm sorry, I cannot remember who it is to give them credit, but somebody had posted that they only had a couple of Manties, and this might actually work for even in the new targets and definitely for the TLC, about putting their lead Skyfire in with the 2 Manties, I think it was, and running that so that the Skyfire did much better against the ships, and then the Manties, of course, took the lead for the turrets.
Well, I experimented with something this morning doing the last round or the last couple of rounds of the campaign. I threw my Savage Kodiak in there in order to mitigate some of the missile damage. Not that you're going to take much, but half of half is still pretty good.
Oh, good. Did you see much of a damage reduction, or?
I wish I could quantify it. I did notice it, but I can't quantify it because I just kept hitting them one after the other. It lasted all the way through to about half of the last target with very little damage, and then you run into some of the fire pools or whatever, and it just died. Started taking more damage.
Yeah, I know on the VXP targets, because I was killing them for some of the tokens and testing some stuff, and I took my Savage in there on a couple of those, but of course I know that's probably not going to be allowed with the raid being being the way that it is. But it did help save some damage for getting tokens.
On the Skyfire and Phoenix, if people are building those, I noticed that the Scorpion CIC adds splash damage reduction as well as tactical field resistance. So I'm thinking in these new targets, we'll need those type of, I noticed in the VXPs, my Phoenixes were getting slammed by the, tactical field. So we might need actual tactical field resistance in the newer targets. So that might be a factor in Skyfire or Phoenix building if y'all are building those.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it is the first raid of the first cycle, so we're all going in there. I don't want to say blind. I mean, we pretty much know what to expect, but I think it's going to take a little time to figure out what for want of a better term, magic build is.
Has anybody put the new armors on the Skyfires, the Phoenix, the XCOMs?
Nope.
I've not heard of anybody that has.
Because the charge is supposed to continue to work in the lower level targets, and what we've seen before, that the lower level, the last generation of a hull usually isn't allowed in the top end targets. So it's potentially, but since we haven't seen the targets, we don't know, is that the lower level targets, won't have the charge depletion mechanism in them. So therefore, you might want to keep your charge there.
Yeah, well, I was just curious as to how it was going to operate in the A's or the S's to see if they were going to be any different.
Yeah,
actually, Lucy just mentioned in chat that she did. It reduces the damage in the current navs.
Okay. That was something I was considering, but my shipyard's busy, so I couldn't try it.
Yeah, I'd only try it with if I have Skyfire build tokens. That's the only way I would actually try it.
Yeah, it looks like she did it with just one plate, and we're seeing a reduction. So if you do have spare tokens, that might be an option to put a couple of plates on and maybe see how that does. But interesting.
I'm also confused about the berserk method of this Scorpion CIC. I don't understand that.
It is a red ring that shows up, and I believe, and somebody can, Venom may be able to confirm this, it's on for 10 seconds and then off for 10 seconds. And while the red ring is visible, and if you look at it closely, it's kind of like the the tail of a Scorpion. It's actually a pretty cool design. But while that's on, the Berserk defenses are in place. So the intent is that you can mitigate your damage by attacking certain things while that thing is active.
Right.
10 seconds. That doesn't give you much time to get anywhere, though.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be a mechanism to expand that.
It does make it. It does seem like it makes it a little bit more of a pain in the rear to drive, having to time all that out. It almost feels like an exaggerated submarine mechanism.
Well,
The
exactly.
old school submarines, not the Fangtooths.
Like the pred dive time, uptime. Yeah, would be different if it were a little bit longer, but at 10 seconds without being able to, I mean, that's barely enough time with some of the builds to do a 360 or 180 and get out of the way.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those things you have to, sort of like with the skirmish cycle with the little guy that did what's the damage, the thorn damage, that you sort of had to go and attack him while he was showing that he was.
Oh, the eel.
Yeah, like, because this seems like when your red is gone, you just sort of need to figure out, okay, I need to attack now while I don't have the red, because the red will be there. The ring will be there by the time I'm actually in range of whatever's firing at me. It seems like it could be quote unquote interesting.
Well, it was easier with the eel because we could actually time the eel, with how it goes. But when it'll be harder for us because we're doing the targets for our own ships. We're not waiting for the enemy ships. They're just going to come at us.
That's a good point, because with the eel, the shield was on the eel, the functionality was on the eel, so you could sit right outside his range ring, and as soon as that turned off, charged in. With this, you're the one that's carrying that ring per se, and you have to time how far out of range you are, as well as the timing before you dive in.
It's also really annoying for after the raid, when the titanium targets will be switched over to the raid targets, where you cannot auto as effectively because you're having to wait until that 10 seconds is available. Go hit the target, then run away. You don't have to be driving the whole time. It's a bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Okay, we're at the halfway mark. I did want to bring up, there obviously is a ginormous post that's on the page. We are having, GDR is going to be joining us next week and has said that he'll be able to answer a couple of questions. Hokey smokes, I think the last time I called, it was like 430 or 50 something comments and questions that were out there. Some really good comments and posts that were out there. That's going to be repinned later on, and it will be up until tonight. And then what I'll be doing tomorrow is pulling that down and then collating everything for Liam. And then we'll get those over. Obviously, they're not going to be able to answer all of the questions, but hopefully based on the feedback and the priority that the players have given some of the questions that are on there, that we'll get some of the more important ones answered, both good and bad. But I did want to highlight a couple of them because I thought they were really good, and I'm really interested in hearing what the panel thinks on this. And so first one, I'm just going to throw Hefe under the bus because he brought up a really good point in his question. And basically what he's was asking was, is the PvP transition to tier 7 going according to plan? If not, what should we expect as changes to guide this transition back to your original version? And I think the key point there that people were talking about, or GDR had put on his last post, was that they were hoping to shorten the pendulum swings, as in not make them be so robust, and going from being able to base hit and kill everything to the opposite, where the defender is king and is killing everything out there. Based on the activity that isn't happening in the game, I think it's pretty much safe to say that there's not a whole lot of base hitting going on with the new stuff that's out there. So I'm going to stop yakking. Jeff, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think you encapsulated most of what I wanted to say because, we've been swinging back and forth, and it almost feels like it's planned. We'll get one weapon, and then you're doing minimal damage, and then I'm not even going to get into the whole over damage issue, but it just seems that every 2 weeks one side is winning, either the bases or the fleets, and I don't find that to be enjoyable because everybody's assuming the next thing that comes out is an armor that's going to take care of the people that have the maxed out turret stacks from tier 7, either the penetrative with the executioners, the halos, and the vultures, or on the other side with the blunderbusses and the Howie-2s. It's just like, okay, whoever can refit faster and then go in and get the next base, you're going to be fine for 2 weeks. And it doesn't feel very strategical the way that structure is going currently. My hope is when they release these 2 short-range turrets, which I was waiting for. I hope that they had showed up earlier. I think with the short-range turret that's snipeable, because they're all pretty much snipeable unless you put the a range extender that lowers your damage on the blunderbuss. The vulture is always snipeable. Is that, well, 2 things. One, that the tier 7 bonus won't make the long range missiles so overpowered that they're able to kill everything even before anything gets involved. That they're too powerful at this point when you have all of them. And the other side of it is the short range missiles or short range turrets, I think, should be able to inflict damage even if you don't have all of these bonuses. If they're snipeable, they should be able to get past deflection without having to have all 8 of them or all 4 of them and have them in the proper spot as far as fire support and whatnot. It creates a situation where you're forcing somebody to stop and engage that turret, not run right past it, which we'll probably end up seeing with the next set of armors that come out. It just adds a strategic element to the game where people need to slow down, stop, engage this target, and maybe something else is going on, causing more moderate damage to that ship in the meantime. It just feels like base design at this point it swings back and forth, and you don't really have to be that strategical. It's just hide your long range turrets in the back. They'll chew everything up. And then, the off week, when fleets are in charge, they can just aim to the back of the base unless they make some change that's sort of similar to what I'm talking about, if you understand what I mean.
I don't. It was too long.
Yeah, okay. Does anybody else understand it?
Mostly.
Okay.
My only problem, that's a big one, is someone doesn't know how to use a calculator, or they just plain don't understand what the numbers are, because giving us turrets that do double the amount of damage that we have for deflections is just ridiculous. A few weeks ago, everything was fine and dandy. The turrets were doing more than the deflection, but not enough to really punish us terribly much. So bases were possible, but they were difficult. The problem we have now, it's something similar to the overdamage, where people just haven't looked at the numbers right, or just don't plainly care, and the damage is so much that base setting is just not possible. I've seen a few bases where it is possible, but that's user fault. At this point, most people should, in theory, know how to make it that the turrets will be doing damage. Though, from what I've seen, it isn't 100% true. But with what we've got, you can make your base impossible without having a guard in it, and that just shouldn't be the case. It should never be the case.
That's a really key point, and it's like we've gone to from, you know, unkillable guards, and well, I'm not even going to get on my why do I have to use a conqueror as a guard soapbox, but we've gone to where unkillable fleets to killable fleets to being able to defend without a guard. And for me personally, I would like to see some kind of balance where it's a combination of my guard and my turrets and my base that can, you know, repel an attacker, not, you know, as Hefe said, or Venom said, you know, not this 2 weeks I've got these uber quick turrets and I totally redesign my base to defense mode and pull everything, you know, attacking off and throw all this defense stuff on it, and that plus my new turrets makes me invincible. Or the opposite, where I'm using conqueror hulls in my defense fleet and I'm able to stop fleets before they even get in. So I'd like to see a balance of both, using the right tools and not be in the situation where I'm, you know, fresh meat 1 week, or I'm able to go out and hit bases that I absolutely should not be able to hit based on my fleets and my level of play.
They need to stop appeasing the people in the forums who don't understand the mechanics of the game. And instead of giving them more turrets that make the math stupid, so that people who don't know what they're doing can actually have a turret that does damage without really thinking about it. Instead, they need to be teaching players how to actually play the game and what everything means. That way, they're more likely to spend when things work right, instead of having players, for instance, Padre saying this week he's not cornering because you can't hit any bases. Stop buying your knee to players who don't know what they're doing. Teach them, and we don't have this problem where we have overpowered turrets to appease players who can't understand it. And I've been battling for weeks on the forums trying to show that the turrets aren't weak, and there's hundreds of people coming onto the forum saying things like the Executioner 2 doesn't do any damage, but they've only got 1 in their base. Or the Howitzer doesn't do any damage, but they haven't got any fire supports around it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because someone had posted the other day, I can't remember where it was, where, you know, I'm relatively smart, or at least I think so, but, you know, I can figure some of this stuff out, but I also have an awful lot of time to where I can do that. And the average player that plays maybe 1 or 2 hours a night or 4 or 5 hours a week doesn't want to spend 3 or 4 hours of their playtime figuring out I've got to do X many fire supports plus X many turrets plus this many other things, and then all of that stuff that's in together. It is certainly getting very complex with having to figure this stuff out. And yeah, the game's supposed to be fun.
Well, and beyond that, I mean, beyond that is the fact that the information that's provided in our turret upgrade, our turret build interface isn't correct. You know, the things are shown as additive that are multiplicative, fire supports, tier 7 bonuses. And so they're not, even if they're willing to put together a spreadsheet and use the information that is provided by Kickside, they're still not going to get the correct answer.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we've been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks about the same thing. The turret displays are completely false. The damages that are shown are false. They're adding things they shouldn't. They're multiplying things that they shouldn't. And they just don't bother to fix any of it. And it's infuriating to see people put in what they think is right, which technically, yes, it is right to what's being shown. But in the actual workings of the game, it's wrong, because what's shown is wrong.
Yeah, there's almost visually right and then game right.
Well, it's also, I look at it as, whoops, somebody kicked, I'm going to need to get back on in a couple minutes or else the show's over. Yeah,
don't continue.
No, it won't. I look at the blueprint as sort of a impressionistic work of art and not realistic at all. And it's the way that Kickside appears to view them as well.
Well, on the lines of the countermeasures and that stuff, we've had so many problems with countermeasures, working and not working. I've recently just realized something. The old Draka coaxial turret works better than the elite countermeasure turret.
I think it depends on how you have it. I think it depends on how you have it equipped.
Oh, I have both my turrets equipped exactly the same way, except before I had the Drak coaxial. No missiles were getting shot down. Nothing was getting shot down on missile storm cruiser full storm cruiser fleets. And then I put the Drak coaxial in my base. Same build. It's shooting down almost every missile, from what I understand. Until they get pretty close, and that's the projectile speed that gets it.
Yeah, because I get my elite countermeasures to work against the missile storm cruisers because of the. I forget what number I have, 100 and I get my projectile speed well over 2,000 on it, and that works within not at the full extent of the range, but a portion of the range. I've taken off the countermeasure special and changed things around, and it doesn't work great, but it does work.
So, Rum, what about you?
I'm just kind of hanging out right now, Robin.
He's having a personal moment.
No, that's fine. I was just curious because I certainly can't profess to be a big base hitter, so I know you guys do. So I was just curious as to what your thoughts were.
Like Venom has already said, and Hefe, the swings are too violent. And you said it would be nice if they had it even to where it didn't eliminate. Right now, how many people have been hit since Bounty ended?
A couple times.
I've been hit, but I've got no turrets, so.
Yeah, but
once for ally points, and that was it.
Yeah, that's basically what we're seeing. And the other thing that this is doing is it's turning it around and making the mid-levels suffer again, because the guys at the top are going to get their bonus points, and how are they going to do it? Or their ally points? They're going to hit down. They're going to find a level they can do that's not going to cost them any coin, which is going to put their turret builds, their ship builds, whatever, behind by 12, 24, 36 hours. It's Kixeye cannot maintain the parity in the game and keep it fun.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know there's a lot of peaking that are going on, and it's almost like you get peaked, and if you've got two of the new turrets, ballistic turrets in there, and then it's kind of like instant leave, and they go off to find somebody that doesn't have those.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it all depends on how your base is set up. I know myself, I've went and hit a few bases that have it in, and again, it's down to people not knowing how to set things out properly. So they've done the work, got the turrets. Turrets will do damage, but it's wasted on a poor setup because they don't know what they're doing, or they've looked at the stats and put them in stupid locations because they think they're doing more than they actually are.
It's come down to communication again. Here are these tools. You get no instructions. You get some numbers that may or may not be accurate, and have fun.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Venom.
They're making the mistake again of not listening to those who know what they're doing, giving us poor numbers, bad instructions, and forcing us to hit the lower players to do anything. We don't want to hit anyone lower. We want competition. We want to hit up in the chain, not down in the chain. There's no fun in going seal clubbing. There's just no fun in it.
There's not.
We want competition, and what we're getting is coin a fleet, have it for a week, and then it's pointless for 2.
That's right. And regardless of your level of coining, when it's only good for 1 or 2 weeks, you're getting no value for that boat.
Yeah, you coin a fleet, it's good for a week, then they throw out turrets that just completely make them pointless to have.
And then they throw out armor that makes the turrets pointless.
Yep.
And
so
then
you coin the turrets, you coin the fleet, then you coin refitting the fleet, then it's pointless for 2 weeks again. Then you coin your refit on the fleet again, and it's pointless for 2 weeks again.
Or even not with the coining. If you're not somebody that, you know, I don't coin fleets. I can't tell you how many naked hulls I have scrapped over the last couple of months, from rages to God knows what else. But you know, I get the coin, get the fleet, I'm able to get it in bounty, and you know, it works really good. And so I build hulls and I get them ranked in VXP, and then by the time that's all done and I get ready to throw them into a refit, then something's come along that's, you know, pretty much made it. Okay, well, there goes that one. What's the newest flavor of the month?
Yeah.
So, okay, I do have a couple more, not to cut this off. It's been a really, really good discussion. A couple more things that people had brought up. Now, obviously, there's a lot of questions about the FM and those types of things. But Amit brought up a really good one that was repeated a couple of times. Global half repair during Bounty. During Bounty 9 was hit more times than when the half repair was on. Did you guys see that?
Yes, but they took the half repair off for the time that people will be hitting most, which is a bit stupid.
On Sunday, right?
Yeah. So I personally was out doing a lot more activity than I normally would because of the half repair, and I know a lot of other people were. And you know, I'm wondering if I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but even if it's not half repair, even if knocking a quarter off for the whole event, you know, something to reduce the repair times for not only your baser fleets, but also your base repair and your guards, I think that would generate a lot more interest and participation. You all agree with that?
Yeah, that's a question that should be asked on Tuesday if it's not already been posed. Is it should, you know, have somebody look at the metrics and say base hitting went up X% because of half price versus Sunday when it dropped off. It'd be interesting to see the difference in the metrics.
Well, the only thing was that they did half repair because of one of their mess ups, the over damage, and that's the only reason they did, you know, half repair.
Right.
And then
it still provided a valuable metric because
yeah.
people was able to get out and they were able to hit more than what they were.
Yeah, and maybe, you know, I know there's probably a concern that, well, if we put half repair on, then everybody will save their FM till, you know, the bounty weekend and do it that, even if it was restricted to, you know, baser fleets and the base repair, so that if their concern is that, well, everybody's going to do all their TLCs on that weekend, then even if you put it towards the event itself, if that makes sense.
Isn't that an indication that the most of the things we're doing are too expensive?
Yep.
I mean, can't we dial it down to exactly what it is? Things are too expensive for most people to get out and play the way they would like to. Coiners
that's very true, you know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I say that's true. And the other thing is, I don't think we will see that half-time repair again.
Yeah, they did do it one weekend. I can't remember what it was. I think it was after a raid or something that was not tied to a specific event or something being broken. If you'll remember, there was like that day or a couple of days where they put global half repair on, and people went out and had a blast.
Yeah, and those are the times that people remember. Man, I went out and I hit 50 bases that I never would have been able to try before because it was a little bit more affordable. And I coined when I normally wouldn't. You know, that's got to account for something. Somebody at Kixeye has to look at it and flip the switch and go, wow, product has gone a little heavy again. Let's cut it back. You know, even a quarter, cutting it back to 3/4 instead of the full price that it is now would help. Something to motivate the player base.
Lucy just pointed it out. It was called the weekend just to blow off steam, was how Kix worded it. And you know, I'd like a once a month weekend, or you know, even in conjunction with bounty, just where you can go out and have a whole lot of fun and get a lot more value for your entertainment dollar.
Yeah. Even if they went down the route, put 30% repair on Conqueror fleets, 60% on defenders because you're having to repair both your defenders and your base, and then put 95% repair on your megas. But for the love of goodness, I'm not putting 140 coin to repair one mega. If you make the megas, say 15 to 20 coins, mega battles are going to go off all the time. Everyone's going to be doing it. But
mega battles for bounty are so much fun, and it's a shame that more people don't get to participate in that. We had a battle with SODP this last bounty for, what was it, 3 megas? Or not 3 megas, 3 Nexus, David?
Yep.
we had a battle, and it was a 2-day battle, and it was so much fun. Comments back and forth between the different alliances. It's just incredible. And half the people or more don't get to participate in that because, like somebody said, it's $14 to coin a mega to get it back in the battle. Let that sink in for a minute. We were talking about the KDs at basically $7. Now, a mega that is going to be killed if it's in a battle is $14 to get back in it.
And if you don't coin it, it's what, a full day almost to where you can use it again?
Well, think about it.
Yep.
If you don't get back in and get back on that Nexus, you don't get the bounty. And in some instances, well, let's just call it 4,500 per Nexus. That could make a huge difference in your bounty weekend.
Oh, that's a new turret or one of the new specials right there.
Absolutely, it is. But why is it that we see it and we notice it and we talk about it during the shows, but Kixeye can't cotton to it? They can't say, look, guys, we get more out of this when these people get more points. And they get more points by having a little bit cheaper repair. So we get more out of it. The players get more out of it. It's a win-win. How could it be anything other than a win-win?
It would be really interesting to see. I mean, I've never seen it. I can't speak to it. Has anybody actually ever seen anybody coin the repair on their mega hull?
I've done it several times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had to. It made the difference between getting the turrets and some of the other specials that I needed. If I don't do it, I don't get it.
And that's something I did want to ask, and you just reminded me of it. If your mega hull is dead and you are not connected to the Nexus, that means you don't get that bonus, correct?
I can't speak to that directly because I've never not coined it to get back on the Nexus.
That's incorrect. As from what I've seen, at least, as long as your alliance is holding the Nexus, you should be fine.
If you
lost Rob.
Who kicked Rue again? But isn't it two different values?
And then Jerry Strum.
We lost you there for a second, Rue.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Jerry Strum brought something up, and it's something that we've talked about many times. And it's, would it be possible to put a repair queue in the dock to allow us to queue fleets up for order of repairs? And I know this has been talked about, and people have said this is a really good idea. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I don't sit up at night waiting for a fleet repair, and I'm certainly not going to coin a 6 coin repair just to be able to finish a 2-hour one, when I get on the game next day. To me, this would actually seem to be a positive thing from a Kix perspective, as in, if I've got fleets to use, then I'm going to go out and use those fleets and hit bases and do chores and go out and have fun. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
That'd be a good idea if they can actually get the repair to actually work. Because I've known several players that's actually had multiple times their fleet doesn't repair, and they go off to work. They come back to a dead fleet, and they've banked the resource. They went on the map. They've even upgraded a wall, and it does not save the repair. So they have to fix that, I say, before they actually implement anything better. I mean, that's a good idea, but they don't fix the stuff that they do have right now.
Am I dreaming, or didn't Raken a long time ago say they were working on some sort of a repair function through the Mega for boats that are used to defend the Mega?
I don't know. I vaguely remember it, but I'm not sure of the specifics.
Well, there never were any specifics. It was something they said, this is something we're looking at doing. Well, that would be kind of cool if I lose whatever fleet it is, a Conqueror fleet, whatever fleet it is, I don't care. If I lose it in defense of a Mega, I should be able to plug it in somewhere and repair it in the Mega. That way it doesn't affect other aspects of the game, thereby getting more fleets back out ready for battle.
That's a good idea. And to Sol, your point with getting the repair queue to work, I know it does happen, but I know it's not something that happens consistently so that they're able to pin down exactly what it is. But with your question of being able to get it to work, and from a coding perspective, oh my gosh, how hard is it to say that this is repair Q1, repair Q2, repair Q3? I was talking with somebody else about this last night and said, okay, well, forget the queues that you queue this one first, this one second, this one third. Just have one big repair slot thing that, will allow you to put like 10 ships in it, so that I just put my 10 ships in that queue, start that off, and then whatever's finished when I get back on, and pull out.
So, that's a great idea. How awesome would that be as far as expanding the number of ships you could have? Because then you could design ships for mega defense, mega attack, and repair them and take care of them inside the mega, and then take care of your regular fleets in your base, which is where they belong to begin with.
Yeah.
Let me clarify. You're talking about like an extra slot in your dock, right? Where you can put like, say, 15, 20 ships in. You can't launch from it. And maybe you just put your ships in there. Is that what you're talking about? And they will just repair in the order that
they're put in.
Yeah,
okay.
Both, because I'm loving Rum's idea as well. But yeah, if they, rather than trying to build when this repair queue finishes, kick this one off kind of thing. If I've got my fleet in a regular slot, I hit repair and then that finishes whenever it finishes. But if there's, and we know they've been able to do some of this stuff because of the guard fleet slot that they have.
Well, don't forget about the bounty fleet, slot that they have also.
Yeah, but so one big slot, and even if it's just 10 ships, for me, the ability to be able to repair 2 fleets overnight, 2 chore fleets overnight would be a godsend. So have 10 ship slots in there, and I throw my ships in there, and then it just repairs them in order. As you said, can't launch from them, can't do anything with them, just straight out repair, so that I can repair one 5-hour fleet when I go to bed, and then the other 5 ships finish for the other 5 hours.
Another thing that I've been thinking about in the same terms is you have the Conqueror shipyard where you build Conquerors. Why don't we have a PvE shipyard where we build PvE and repair, and then our main shipyard could be used for both? Again, that speeds up the game. That's more possible coining for kicks. It gets boats back out on the water faster so people can do more. It goes back to being a win-win. And, the repair, the way it is now, it unnecessarily slows the game down.
Oh, it shuts it down.
Sure.
If I have to finish my FM, and I've got this TLC that's sitting out there. Well, here you go. March to War, classic one. March to War plus another TLC plus other stuff. I can't go out and get uranium if my subs are repaired, because I'm not allowed to launch them while they're half dead. I need them for the March to War, so I've got to schedule my other chores around that to make sure that my subs are repaired. You end up locking yourself in that I've got 9 hours to repair. I've got 7 hours of my FM fleet. I've got to get that done. So that has to be, so everything else sits there and does nothing.
Exactly. And it stops the game.
Yeah. Either you keep your subs on the water half damaged, or you dock them, repair them, and have to fight the repair time with your dragons or with any other fleet that you have to repair.
But subs are so critical. If you make one slight mistake, you could lose the entire fleet. So a lot of times there's not leaving the fleet out on the water, and you've got a long repair going on a base hit that you failed on. And now you got to make a choice. Do I pull the do I pull the base hitting fleet off and let it sit there and put my subs on, or vice versa?
Well, yeah, and then there's some numbnuts that comes along that's got a tide seeker who gets his jollies off of sinking all the submarine fleets, and if you've left your subs out, then you're totally screwed.
Absolutely.
Now you've got to start the repair from start. And I think we touched on this on Tuesday, I think, with George and I were talking about, for the FM, a garrison repair queue, so that your FM repair queue does not interfere with the rest of your game.
Yeah.
So
I want to take just a moment, if I can, to kind of clear something up. I don't think you're an apologist for kicks in any respect, possibly except for the software design. A lot of people think that I've been singling you out, and I haven't. It's just that you and I had that discussion a long time ago. I do not think you're a kicks apologist. I don't necessarily think that many people are. It's just the way they treat us when they come on, and that's all I got to say.
Yeah, no, I don't take it personally, and you've raised some really good points. I mean, there at what point is the people's threshold? There's just a limit to what we being the TFC as to what we can do. And
I understand. That's what sucks is, again, regardless of how you look at it, yes, they are a business. Yes, they're here to make money, but they make that money off of us. And I am in a service business, I am in a repair business, and I'm in a retail business. And if I piss my customers off, I lose a source of income. And in my business, that happens pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, and people do it. I mean, I do it. I mean, there's been no base hitting this week from a lot of people, no coining from a lot of people. I've not done a lot, and we proved that with the FM and with the raid. If people are not spending, then that's an obvious indicator right there that people are not happy. But no, we're good, mate. I know it's not personal.
Yeah, because he's called me the same thing on the after shows. He's called me the same thing in the after shows as he's called me.
It's only been one time, Hefe. One time.
Okay.
It's all right. It's just I try to remain neutral, and when we're just sharing information, we're sharing information. But that does circle us back to the actual show and the questions. Again, it'll be up there till tonight, and then we will go ahead and collate all of those and put all the like questions with the like questions. So we're not just sending a list of like 460 random questions and they just throw that out the window. So they will all be grouped together. I do want to thank everybody for taking the time for their feedback, both good and bad. A lot of really good points that are in there, and then we'll put those together and get those over to GDR. And I'm actually looking forward to it because there are some tough questions, and there will be some tough questions that are asked, and so hopefully we'll be able to get some answers on those. And so with that, I'm sorry, Benham.
Let me add him.
Oh, no. With that being said, yeah, we're right. In fact, we're just over the hour. I want to thank everybody for your time today and for your insight to the ones that I just kind of cherry picked out there, because I did want to get some thoughts from people on that. And big thank you to those that joined us in chat. We certainly appreciate you being there. And so next week's show will be on Wednesday the 9th. Of course, GDR Raken, he is the senior game developer. He'll be a designer. He'll be on there with us. It will also be the show right before the raid, and so we will also have the raid review. So that one, of course, I think we'll probably go over the 1 hour mark, and so hopefully we'll be able to have him on as a special guest for as long as he can be, and then we'll go through some of the stuff that's coming in for the raid. And so thank you guys on the panel. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Everybody have a good night.
No, thanks a lot. All the best and a great week, everyone.
All right.
Fix the game, damn it.
Bye.